Hello and welcome back to the all new, all different number one comics podcast. We are on a bonus episode here. We're doing the new Image Comics Creepshow. This is volume 2, number 1. But yeah, anyways, that's a side note. How the hell are you, Nick?
I'm doing great. Have you been?
Very awesome. We were just, peek behind the curtain. Of course, we were catching up for a second before we started recording here. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the cull because Jesus Christ, I have to now. Like, this isn't really, the point of this podcast to go back to like issue number 2 or talk about the series later. But I have to. So, yeah, man. The Cull number 2, like, holy crap, what did you think? Like, was there anything, super crazy surprising in there? Anyways, I'll shut up and go, please.
Yeah, the Cull number 2. When you told me, hey, have you read it yet? And I was like, oh man, I forgot that it had come out this weekend. I checked it out. I read it at night, which is probably the best time to read something like this because it's very like mysterious and fantastical, and it made me have really weird dreams that night.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
But yeah, it was everything that I was hoping that it would kind of go into, except I was kind of I'm still like not sure what is like happening, which is kind of good because like, it makes me want more. But I'm still a little bit confused as to like what is this going to be, like a horror thing? Is it going to be? Is it just about these 5 people and the way that they interact with each other in this crazy land? But I thoroughly enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to like start throwing some theories out there because what could this be? Like, are we supposed to take it at face value, or did they really drop into this cave and then drop into this, I don't know, alternate world or worlds or whatever? And then I like how the one character was throwing out there that they think that maybe each one of these big rocks or whatever could be a different world. And
yeah,
and then we've got the creatures, because holy crap, dude, the creatures are so cool and weird. And it's like, it's giving me like Dr. Seuss vibes or something, but at the same time, it's like not, it's creepier than that. But yeah, it's just there was so much in here and it moved along. So like it was just dense, but it moved, which was cool. So we were in this world, kind of in this one place, but yeah, it really moved the story along. I mean, there was some wacky shit in there too. Like the 2 characters, the male and female character, are just like, all right, we're just gonna have sex here right now. Take off your clothes. That was pretty nutty, but
yeah, I was really like thrown off by that.
I wasn't expecting it.
Seemed almost like one of them wasn't who they were. Like,
Yeah, like maybe, yeah, exactly.
was that someone who was that actually that girl, or was that girl like a replica, or was it like they're in their own heads thinking that this
Yeah.
stuff's going on, but it's really not happening? Maybe they all got into the cave and like the cave, I don't know, like fell apart or something, and they all died, and now they're in like limbo or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That part made me think that. It made me think, are we actually in this realm? Because that seemed off. That seemed like that should not have happened at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was taking it for what it was there, but yeah, I like that theory. Like, what if, they're, I don't know, she's somebody else, has inhabited her body, or they're in another, I guess they already are in another realm, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
something different has happened there. Yeah, that's really cool to think about too. Something like that, but yeah, just a really, really interesting story. Really moves along great, and then ends on that crazy cliffhanger again. And I mean, dude, I can't say enough about the art in that book. It's so insane to me that dude has been a cover artist for as long as he has and never dipped into like actually illustrating a comic book. I assume it must be like a painstaking process for him to create each one of those panels. Like, it is probably really intense. I would love to be able to have him on. I did reach out to him, but I think that he said, English was his second language and it would be a little hard to work that out. But yeah, I would love to see that process, even if he's doing like a YouTube video on it or something. Because man,
yeah, I remember. Yeah, if the people listening haven't checked it out, check out his YouTube process on this book. He did. They put up the first when the first issue was coming out, before the issue
Mhm.
came out, they did the first processes of how he made the characters and stuff like that. So if you want an insight into that, go check that out. But this looks like real. This looks really
Yeah,
real. Like it
it looks
looks like
really
it's so
real.
photorealistic, especially that
Mhm.
last panel where the person, the girl with the blue hair, has her hand up to the sun,
Yep. Mhm.
and it's a perfect, like, you. It looks like my hand right now in front of my face with like the shadow. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't even know how you do something like that.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
looks
Like, how
crazy.
does that even happen?
I don't know.
Yeah, just some intense art there, and really cool creative storytelling. I like it a lot. I think when I first cracked open the second issue, I almost got kind of scared because have you seen that Disney movie that came out, I think last year or something, Strange Worlds? Are you familiar with that one?
I know what you're talking about. I never saw it though.
Oh, okay, yeah, I watched it. It went like straight to Disney Plus or whatever. It skipped like theatrical, I think, and like it was review bombed pretty hard. But it's 20 whatever 2020 something now. So unfortunately, that's going to happen, especially with all the people that dislike Disney for whatever reason they dislike them now. But it wasn't a bad movie at all. It was fine. It held my attention. It was a cool Disney movie. But certain parts of it, I was like, oh, are they kind of like telling that story, but like from a different angle, like a more adult angle or whatever. But like now that we kind of get to that middle part of the book and then beyond, I'm like, okay, this is something completely different. So really cool. But yeah, I love that. And I think we should keep those theories coming as the book comes out and everything. Like, is it a lost scenario? Are they dead? Are they in a
Yeah.
purgatory or something? Or
Yeah. I would
yeah.
really like to see what happens with the other rocks that are just like the rock that is in their town, to see if it leads to other places. Another theory
Mhm.
that they had was, is it just going to take us back in time in the same place?
Yep.
Is it
Mhm.
going to be like this one's like 1845 and we can go to that time, or can we go to the future and see what that's
Mhm.
like? But that I'm just staring at the last panel right now on my screen, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, what the heck is going on? Because that
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
almost like Legend of Zelda with the fairies and
Mhm, mhm.
the this creature that looks like it like swims. Maybe it has like fins and
Yep.
stuff. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, really, really cool looking, really cool book, and again, we're only sitting here talking about it because it just, at least for me, left a huge impact on me. It's something that, eh, when I picked up my books Wednesday, it was the first thing I cracked open because I had to know what was going to happen, and now I'm going to do the same thing next month. So I can't wait for this to come out. Really cool. And you had mentioned you subscribe to the Substack, so you have digital access to that and everything. I strongly advocate that everybody out there listening, go to that Substack, subscribe, so that way they can get that direct financial I don't know
Kelly
benefit
Thompson,
or whatever.
Kelly
Yes,
Thompson Substack, 1979 semifinalist.substack.com. Go subscribe to it right now.
yeah, like for real, go subscribe to that.
$5, $5 a month, and you get a comic, at least
Mhm.
one comic. So you might as well just pay for it on the thing, and then you're paying for the $5 comic, and you get
Yeah,
it direct on
exactly.
your screen, and you could save it to your computer.
Hmm.
Yep, it's great.
Super worth it. And I subscribed also, so I'm picking up the floppies and the digital. I'm still, I have to have it in my hands too because it's that good. But yeah, either way, just wanted to throw that out there and talk about it a little bit because God, it's so interesting. But yeah, we can get into today's book because it's also a very fun book and lots of stuff to talk about here. But like I said, we're doing the Image Comics Creepshow #1, and this is the second volume of Creepshow. For you guys out there listening who were like, wait a second, there was a Creepshow #1 that came out, I don't know, like a year ago or whatever. It seems like maybe that's what they're going to be doing with Creepshow here, maybe every year or so. Doing another volume, which is cool. Really works out. We all know in comics, really pays dividends to have a new #1. So
Yep, exactly.
yeah, always helps with the sales of that first issue and everything, even if it is another volume or whatever, or a reboot. So this is the traditional creep show format, which I wanted to ask you also, like, how familiar are you with like these types of like horror comics? Were you like a big reader of creep show, or like a big fan of like Tales from the Crypt, or that kind of stuff?
Tales from the Crypt, when I
Yeah.
was younger was my
Uh-huh.
go-to. I
Mhm.
love Tales from the Crypt. That
Yep.
creepy dude in the beginning,
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
even find him creepy. I just thought he was the coolest guy ever. I'm a
Yeah,
big
he was so
horror
funny, right?
Yeah, I'm a big horror fan, so when I was a
Uh-huh.
kid, that might have, like, sparked my love for horror
Yep.
in a way. I was always scared of horror movies when I was little, but that show was very, like, digestible as a kid. So,
Mhm.
but with Creepshow, I'm gonna be honest, I've never read Creepshow.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I really like horror anthology type of things too. Like I'm really big into horror as well. I love horror movies, love horror comics, all of that stuff, horror um books, whatever it is. Actually, Creepshow is a lot of fun. It's got the same kind of vibe to me as Tales from the Crypt. You have like I think this dude is just called the Creep, like the narrator guy. And you know, Tales from the Crypt, you have the Crypt Keeper and all of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I horror anthologies definitely, you know, my kind of thing. I love when you can just kind of get in, tell that one and done. It's creepy, it's weird, it's got, you know, whatever stakes it has to it. It brings me back to like my huge fandom for Twilight Zone, you know, and that's more of, you know, sci-fi anthology, whatever. It's got some horror elements into it, especially for the time or whatever. But those anthologies, like I always feel like there's so much poured into them. There's so much thought that goes into the writing and everything, and it's like it's just this nice, like tight little thing, and
Mhm.
it doesn't expand any further than that. You're not like usually creating a whole series out of it or anything, but yeah, another one of my favorite things of all time is Planet of the Apes, which kind of started as a Twilight Zone, you know, that expanded beyond that and then became, you know, its whole franchise. It's been rebooted a few times, and then whatever else, animated television show, a television show, comic books, everything else. But yeah, I love this kind of stuff. So this one has two stories in it.
Mhm.
The first one's called Make Your Choice,
Mhm.
which title holds up.
Yeah.
And that one's written by Garth Ennis with art by Becky Cloonan. And then the next one is Fossil Record, which has uh, the script and penciling done by Phil Hester and the inks done by Eric Gabster. So the interesting thing about the creative teams on this book, for me at least, was how you have like Becky Cloonan writes. I'm more familiar with her writing than art. Like I know she's an artist as well, but she's a big writer. Like you know, over at DC, Gotham Academy, Batgirls, things like that. She's done a lot of stuff over there. Wonder Woman, um, and same thing with Phil Hester. He's done like a lot of art. He's a big artist, and I know he inked here or sorry, penciled his portion of the book, but it just seems like they kind of mixed up the creative teams a little bit here, which is cool. I really like their takes and everything, but interesting to team up Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan. I think that that's such a cool pairing and something so weird that they did. I got to imagine that it has to be like interesting for Becky Cloonan to be taking like kind of those art notes or whatever from Garth Ennis, or if he just laid out a basic script and she was like, "I already know what I'm doing, dude. You don't got to tell me anything." Really cool. I really like Becky Cloonan's art a lot. Like I said on Batgirls, she does some really cool stuff on that. And she's a cool artist, but typically she's writing now. Wonder Woman is like, you know, she did such a long run on Wonder Woman. That was really good and all of that. So just thought I'd point out those creative teams. And of course there's colorists and letters and everything, but I'm not going to get into all of their names right here right now. But yeah, this first story, Make Your Choice. Actually, let me go back to the format here. I should be reading the solicit. I'm going to read that solicit really quick from Image's site. This is and I love the way that this starts also because it says the smash hit horror anthology based on the hit Shudder TV series is back and creepier than ever. So they're
What?
saying this is
Oh,
based.
because it's on Shutter. That's
Yeah,
why.
yeah, uh-huh,
Okay.
uh-huh. And I don't know, have you seen any of that stuff?
No, I haven't.
Dude,
Is
I
it
watched
are they talking about new
yeah,
Creepshow stuff? Oh, no,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, I've
They're
never not
yeah,
familiar.
somehow something there was like one or two episodes on something else, like streaming somewhere. that was like, maybe for promotional purposes or something, because I don't have Shutter, but one was like an animated thing where it was kind of like Castaway, like this dude ended up on this island, and the animation was real weird. But anyways, the point of the story was he, was starving and he was on this island by himself, and he began to like eat himself,
Mhm.
and it was just it was so creepy and weird, and the animation was so juxtaposed against it. It was very odd, but um, yeah, check
I
that
could
out
dig
if you can.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to find the title of that one and tell you where you can stream it and send it to you. But yeah, it was really interesting. But anyways, back to the solicit here. In the debut issue, Master of the Macabre, Garth Ennis and superstar creator Becky Cloonan team up for the very first time to deliver a disturbing tale of the unborn. Then, freaky Phil Hester tells the story of a grieving son who bends the laws of nature to see his mother one last time. This can't wait till the end. And yeah, that's their solicit. I almost don't want to go into this. I've got what I wrote up, like my synopsis for the book, and it's really really long. So
Let's just talk
I,
about it. Let's just get
yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
it's like
I want to
it's
talk about this first one.
yeah, it was so long. I don't even want to go into it. But yeah, let's talk about this thing, dude. This is nuts.
I loved it so much. I love this.
Yes.
We are 4 for 4 now on number
Yeah.
ones
Oh,
because.
dude, this
But
was
when we
fun.
saw Garth Ennis, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
Garth Ennis because I don't know if you could see behind me. I have all of the complete collections of Punisher,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just been reading those forever because it's so
Dude.
long.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
Garth Ennis
so
Punisher stuff. Yeah.
good. It's so good. And this is so whatever Garth Ennis like throws at me, I want it. I just
Yeah.
want to like digest all of the disgusting things that he has to put onto pages, you know?
And he does here. Yeah.
He's so gross. Like
He
I
doesn't
love it.
hold back. Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I love it so much, but he's just okay. Let's talk about the first thing that happens in the first story. The first
Oh
story is Make Your
God. Yeah.
Choice, right? And
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it's you see this guy and he's on the toilet and
Yep.
he's just like ah, and he's screaming and you're like, oh man, this guy's having a really tough time. This is very Garth Ennis.
Yep.
And then he gets done, and in the toilet bowl there is just a disgusting fetus
Yep.
just saying, "Feed me, clothe me, raise me," and he just keeps saying it over and over and over, "Feed me, clothe me, raise me," and you're just
Uh-huh.
like, "What the heck is going on?" And it's so good. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
it
no,
so
this
much.
this is cool. And throughout the story, that's what he's up against. The character's name is Wesley, and he continuously is having these babies, uh coming out, and of course, basically they're aborted fetuses, whatever they are. And some are like, very otherworldly looking, they're really deranged looking and all of that. But yeah, they all have this constant dialogue: feed me, raise me, clothe me, whatever. And obviously he's ignoring that, that goes throughout
Yeah.
the story. He just wants them gone, which kind of
Mhm.
plays into what happens towards the end there. But yeah, it's really interesting because Wesley's seeing them, and they're popping up, in church. He's sitting there reading the Bible, and he opens one of the pages, and there's the baby sitting there, and they're all around, and he's kind of telling his wife Carol Ann, what's going on, but no one else is seeing them. It's just him,
Yeah.
which is again, like, probably some kind of metaphor for something. But yeah, to the point where towards the tail end of this, there's like hundreds of them,
Mhm.
all kind of, I don't know, spilling out from a closet or another room or something, and they're all yelling this: "Feed me, clothe me, raise me, blah blah blah." And yeah, it comes to a pinnacle there, and
Yep.
we should probably unpack that a little bit. But
But we'll unpack the fact that okay, he's in church, right? So it
yep,
gets more political and it gets more
yeah,
religious. So
definitely,
Garth
yeah,
Ennis
yeah,
definitely has a message here. It's not just like random babies for no reason.
yep,
It's a metaphor for women's right to choose for abortion, and this
of
guy
course, yeah,
is obviously against that.
mhm,
He seems very heavily conservative, and
yes,
he's donated to the causes of pro-life instead of pro-choice.
Mhm.
He's very like outspoken about it to
Yep.
his wife when his wife is like, what the hell is going on with you? And it gets to the point of what you said was these thousands of like fetuses, like you don't, and they're saying, you donated, you protested,
Yep.
we didn't mean any harm, you won't feed us, you won't clothe us. So it's like he has all of these things that are like being thrown at him because he is pro-life and not pro-choice. It's like, well, if you really are pro-life, why aren't you helping the kids who, like, I don't know, who are maybe like in foster care or whatever? Like, well, if
Yep.
you care so much about pro-life, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you protesting against this?
Mhm.
So, and then it kind of like unpacks into, you don't really give a shit. Like,
Yep.
you
Yep.
just are conservative and religious and you don't really care. Like, that's
Mhm.
not what it's
Mhm.
about. But then something else happens that we are like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
and then it,
It takes another turn there.
yep, turns it on its head again. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, this isn't just because of his belief system. It's about what he did.
Yep.
And do you want to go into that?
Oh god, yeah, yeah, let's unpack that for sure.
It took me a while to figure it out, but I was like, oh, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, because the
Yeah,
mom gets
definitely.
really upset.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it took a minute to get there, but yeah, it seems like first of all, he, basically is implied that he paid some people to, destroy a clinic or burn it down or whatever. So
Mhm.
there comes your bulk of babies, I guess, or why they're possibly there. And then we get into Jessica. He just says the name Jessica, and it took me a second too because I was like, well, wait a second, his wife's name is Carol Ann. Who's Jessica? Who's he talking about? Um, and then yeah, to really unpack it here, and maybe trigger warning, I guess that we should probably do a trigger warning for rape, incest, all of that stuff, because that's kind of what it comes down to here. But
That's what
yeah,
happens when you say Garth Ennis's name, though. It's a
sure,
trigger
sure,
warning.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Automatically, you should realize that he's going to put some stuff like that in here.
Yeah, yeah, he's not going to hold back, which compelling story, so I'm absolutely fine with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, trigger warning aside, he mentions the name Jessica, and then his wife perks up. She's like, what's going on with Jessica? And then as it unfolds, he kind of explains to his wife, well, a demon got in her and seduced me, and I couldn't stop myself, type of thing. And she got pregnant, and I had to, and then we get the story. She's like, well, you said she was raped by, I forget what it was, the football team or whatever.
Yep.
And of course that turns out to be false. It turns out to be him instead. And yeah, I'm gonna let you talk about how this one wraps up.
Oh, you're leaving me. I
Yeah,
threw it to you to do
yeah.
that.
Oh, I get
Oh,
the
I could
very
do it.
end.
I could do
Okay,
it. I
okay,
could do it. I
yeah,
could do it. So obviously he confesses
yeah.
to his sins. The wife is like, I knew it for the
Yep,
longest time, and it's about time that you paid for your sins. She grabs an AR.
yep,
She grabs an assault rifle, and she says something to the effect of um like, you killed her basically because you had some people working on her to abort the baby or
yep.
something, right? Was that what it was?
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, because he didn't want to take her to like a clinic or anything because
Right.
people would have recognized them.
Yeah.
So he did like a back alley abortion or
A
whatever.
back alley abortion. So
Hmm.
she grabs
Yep,
the AR. He tells her, "What are you doing?" And then all we hear is like gunshots. And then
yep,
what we're left with is the creep
yeah.
or whatever, but he's a little fetus and he's saying
Hmm.
like, looks like Carol Ann performed a little procedure of her own. And it's like, oh my God, dude. It's like
Yeah.
all these like really intense, mature subjects, and then at the end you get this little creepy little baby thing going, ha ha ha. Like he's like smiling and laughing about
Uh-huh.
it. It's like, Jesus Christ, Garth Ennis, what the heck?
Yeah, and
Like, I
and
can't believe you could just do stuff like this.
I
It's
love that
brutal.
last panel. Yeah, it's almost like, that fetus is back in a womb and it's surrounded by these bullet shells, and
Yeah.
it's narrating the end of the story there and everything. So yeah, you're right, that happens, and then that's the end of that story, and that one wraps up. And just to we talked about it throughout. We talked about Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan and everything, but what did you think about these two teaming up together? And the look of this and then the tone and everything. I know you're a Garth Ennis fan, so
Perfect. I couldn't have thought of like a better team up on it. Well, I probably could, but in all
Mhm.
honesty, when you see the art style and then
Yeah,
when you see what's actually going on, it works perfectly. Like everything's so grotesque and
yeah,
like it's very like detailed in the way that we see like wrinkles and like
hmm,
the graphic art style of like heavy shading,
yeah, very
lighting,
heavy
stuff
shading.
like
Yeah, yeah,
that. Yeah, and like the colors are perfect, and
hmm.
I just everything about the art style and the writing, it just works for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's they work really well together, and uh, we both kind of already knew what we're getting with Garth Ennis, and then on a Creepshow book, so that's to be expected. But yeah, this was really heavy material, and I think that it was told really really well. I think the message came across really well. Uh, I all bias and political sides, aside, just the story itself, I really really liked it, and I thought that it was really cool. And I want to just kind of showcase Becky Cloonan's art in this, because it is like it's a little grotesque. I love what she does, like with the fetuses and everything. She really kind of details those out, and really tells, I feel like, tells like a good personal story here through this art and through Garth Ennis' storytelling. So yeah, definitely a win for me too. This one was really really cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, are we technically 4 for 4, or are we going to be 5 for 5? Is this technically 2 comics, or is it 1 comic? Like,
Yeah,
what if
I
we
mean,
don't like the next comic? Does that mean that
I
we're
I
like
know. Yeah, we don't like the next story in
half?
this book. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know. Maybe I guess we'll leave that till the end, and we'll discuss that, because let's get into Fossil Record.
Okay.
That's what this one's called, Fossil Record. Again, it's written and penciled by Phil Hester, inked by Eric Gapster, colored by Mike Spicer, and lettered by Pat, someone I can't say their last name. So that's
Mhm.
usually why I don't go the full list of creators, because I'm so bad at saying names that there's at least one or two in there that I can't even come close. But yeah. Anyways, Fossil Record. This one's very interesting. It's very, like, this one's reminding me a lot of those old, like, Tales from the Crypt type of stories.
Yeah.
I get that kind of vibe from it, more so than the first one.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Um, but it is cool. I do like it. I'm not saying anything bad about it. This one is just very different. It takes us on like this more kind of drawn out adventure. And it starts with a character who's at his mother's funeral. So you kind of already set the tone there. He's at his mom's funeral, and he was really close to his mom, and he's got some different ideas than some of the people at the funeral and everything. And he falls into her open grave. So that's how this story opens up. So that's pretty intense there itself. And then we kind of get into the lore of what's going on. And I'm not going to be able to recollect like every little thing here, because it is a little deeper than I remember. But I do know he's like a paleontologist, and
Mhm.
also like a professor,
Mhm.
and he's working on a theory, or sorry, he's working, what I can't think of the terminology here, but whenever you're working on proof of someone else's theory, whatever that's called, I can't remember, but
Yeah, that's pretty
he's
much what it is. He's just working on like proving this old guy, Dr. Heinrich's theory.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so he's been working on that for a while, and that's causing his work at the school and everything to suffer, the university or whatever to suffer. The students are saying he's not really present, and blah blah blah, and
Right, he's obsessed with proving this theory, basically,
yeah,
because
yeah, obsessed.
he even gets to it, like, when you're at your mom's funeral and when you're talking about this
Yeah,
theory, and everyone's like, "Dude, shut up. You're at your
yep,
mom's funeral about," and then, like, he falls in and he which makes him look like a klutz and kinda
yeah,
clumsy, which he is, right? It kinda sets
hmm,
the for that.
yep,
Yeah, he's obsessed with this theory.
yeah, yeah, very. This is his whole life. This is what his point of his life is at this point. But yeah, kind of what that theory is. Let me try to say the correct scientific name of these things. Uh, trilobites. I don't know. something like
Sounds
that.
good to me. Yep,
Yeah,
I'm not
sure,
gonna try it. You
sure.
do it.
Yeah, whatever they are. We'll say trilobites. Yeah, they're e- everybody knows what they are. They kind of look like those, I don't know, like horseshoe crab type of things, whatever those things are, those prehistoric things. But
Right.
yeah, the theory is that they all have these like wounds, and they were undetectable for a long time, um, but they're able to detect them now, and they're like these appendages that basically they use to, I don't know, suck the nutrients out of something, and then they disintegrate over time, or whatever, so people can't see them. So that's why they, possibly went extinct or whatever, and now they're finding the reason why. Um, and and he wants to, immediately after this, which seemingly, I'm guessing in the story, this is like immediately after his mother's funeral. It doesn't look like any time really passes. It looks like he's wearing the same clothes and everything, to me. So
Right. Yeah,
uh,
I agree.
yeah, he's going to find this professor, and he's like, "Hey, I have proof of your theory here, and I want to talk about it and everything." And I don't know if you want to talk about it, kind of where he finds them, and how he finds that other older professor.
Okay, so this is the way that you're talking about this right now is exactly how
Yeah,
I felt about it while I was reading it. I was like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much dialogue. It's the
Uh-huh.
opposite of the last one because the last
Hmm.
one is very short panels,
Yep.
3, 4 panels, 5 panels max per page.
Yeah.
And this one is like 5 panels in like half of a page. It's like
Yeah.
really a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think the
Definitely.
pacing of this is probably off because of how short it had to be for having 2 comics in 1 issue,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
I
I
agree.
think that was probably not done the best because
Hmm.
the pacing it's really fast and there's a lot going on, and they wanna tell this story, but within only those few pages, it's really hard because you don't get a sense of time, like you said.
Hmm.
You don't get a sense of, like, where we're at really
Yeah.
even.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, we're at a school, but are we at a school? Because it says, like, Beset Hall of Geology, and
Hmm.
then, like, he's in some, like, rundown place, so is that, like I was so kinda confused because of the pacing. I just wish, like, it would've been less kind of with the panels and let like, just give me, like, 1 big panel showing me where we're at or something like that.
That would have been
But
nice. Yeah.
yeah, I was honestly kinda confused, reading it.
It
I
would have
was
been
like, I
great.
don't even know where he's at right now, kind of. He's
Hmm.
definitely in, like, some type of museum of geology because there's this hanging trilobite type thing that he had a
Yep.
model of, but he goes down this ladder, which is just there, I guess, which is another thing I had a problem with. I was like,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
there just some open hole and the Dr. Heinrich guy's just down there
Yep.
and everyone's just leaving him alone to like work on this stuff? I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird, but he's in this tunnel. He's got a pickaxe. He's obviously trying to dig to find these things and
Hmm.
prove his theory, which the guy had already said that he was proving the theory.
Yep.
He finds him. He he kind of gets all crazy on him on the guy on our main character, and the guy's like, "Don't touch me," which he says a lot. He's like,
Yep.
don't touch me," and this Heinrich guy's like trying to touch him, and an accident happens. A pickaxe falls. It hits Heinrich. He thinks he kills him, but
Hmm.
it doesn't kill him. And Heinrich is he gets attached to one of these like it's like there's like tendril like kind of like thinging things. I don't even know
Yeah.
how to describe it. It's kind of weird, and they take him over, kind of.
Yeah, it's almost like they're at least in that scene, it's almost like they're coming out of the ground like roots or something, and they have a hold
Right.
of him, but at first, and then they kind of take over into his body. And being the time of that we're in with stuff like The Last of Us and all of that, like I was starting to get some kind of vibes of that. You kind of have like almost these reanimated, by something, some outside force, zombie type of creatures. And that's pretty much what I chalked it up to. Like it's something similar to that, but yeah, they're a little more. They take over, and then it's like it's very similar to what the Trollobites were doing back then. They kind of have these. I forget exactly what they're called, but this appendage that comes out and then feeds off of the living. So that's what that professor starts to do, and or seemingly starts to do, and then August takes that pickaxe and it's just smashes it through the side of the dude's head, and that panel is pretty intense. There's blood and visceral and everything coming out the side of the skull, and his eye is popping out, and it's pretty intense. And then August just from there kind of seems like he's going insane. I mean, some insane things are
Yeah.
happening to him, of course, but uh, he seems, you know, like invigorated by it. Like he's got this smile, and he's like, kind of, I knew I was right. Like I knew my theory was correct, or I knew I had proof, or whatever. And then he goes to take off, and what his purpose is now, like his whole mission is, he doesn't want his mother to be used as one of these things. So he knows his mom's just been freshly put into the ground, and he thinks that she's going to be reanimated as one of these zombies to do this, and he wants to get to that graveyard and make sure that that doesn't happen. And here's another part where I got very confused, and I don't know if you did as well. I thought that he was driving around with his mother's corpse for a little bit, until I went back and like really looked at it, and I was like, okay, that's the lady that he was talking to at first,
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
down and see the professor, because I was like, then I flipped to the end of the book and I was like, well, now he's going to his mom's grave, so why is he doing that if she's in the car? And then I was like, okay, never mind, I get it now. But
Right.
yeah, I thought it was his mom, and I agree with you. It's not that it needs a bunch of exposition, because it's a packed story in a small amount of pages and everything, but it could have been like a little better realized. The story could have been told in a different way, to where we could have understood things a little better. I don't hate the story. I don't think it's a bad story, but I think it was told a little confusing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And I honestly think it's just the pacing because there's so much that is
Yeah.
going on all the time
Mhm.
that you're like, okay, this guy just popped up, now he's dead. Which I thought was like finally like some crazy thing happened, and I'm like interested again because I was getting
Mhm.
kind of like, I was kind of wishy washy, especially coming off of that Garth Ennis uh, issue or
Yeah,
that comic.
yeah.
So like when I was reading that, I was like, oh, finally, like a pickaxe to the head. Like this is
Mhm.
Creepshow. Give me some like good horror stuff, you know.
Yep.
But then he gets a little crazy, like you said. I was confused too about the person. I thought it was just some random person in the car until I saw
Mhm.
that it said Mrs. Kent,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then he says, "Don't touch me" again. And it's like, but I will agree with you. And then he goes to his mother's grave, and then we
Yep.
can just spoil it here. Gets to his mother's grave. A hand reaches up. His mother has been taken over by the trilobites, and
Yep.
she does the classic alien uh, thing coming out of the mouth and shoots right through the back of his head. And I was like, yeah, cool.
Yep.
I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like more of that, please. Like, it only happened like 2 times, so that we had got some like crazy thing going on. And you don't have to, but I would like it. I would like some stuff like that. Um, but
Yeah.
I'll go to your point before. I like the story. I thought the
Mhm.
story was really good. I like this guy who's going crazy and he has these theories to prove, and he's trying to find the guy who has the theories so he could talk to him about it. But that guy is crazy, and he's like, okay, this guy's really crazy. I thought I was crazy. And then, he tries to get to his mom because he loves his mom dearly and he
Mhm.
doesn't want her being taken over. I also like the thing where they were like, it's actually a really smart story too, when they were saying, oh, there is no fossil record of these trilobites because they don't die. They're
Yep. Mhm.
always there. They've been around for eons since the beginning of time, and they don't die. And they are like the apex predator because they just continually grow, and they mate and they feed off of people because they're feeding off of the dead, right? I think that's what
Yep.
it is.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
definitely.
but that me being confused right now, I'm like, I don't know, because the pacing is so fast and there's so much going on that I'm like, man, I wish you guys would have just told the story like, I don't know, like, I don't, because it's linear. It's definitely
Mhm.
going, it's not going backwards in any way, but I was just so confused about like the purpose of, you know, but I did like the actual story itself.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you on that. I think that it was really cool story, well thought out, and everything. The pacing, yeah, I 100% back you on that. It suffers from that. I think this would have been a cool 3-part mini or something. Like told through like 3 full issues. That would have really worked for it. I think there's a lot of ideas packed in here, and we had to go through, developing that relationship with him and his mother, and that took a lot of the time out of the book. And then we had to deal with the other professor, and that took a lot of time from the story. So we weren't able to get into really August and then these trilobites, and that's the point of the story. We
Right.
weren't able to learn enough about that to tell the story, but I mean, I like I said, coming off of, we're pretty fresh off of The Last of Us airing, that first season of The Last of Us. Um, of course, it's got some vibes, kind of similar, and I think that's cool. Like, it tells a different story, but it's still, you know, still, I don't know, is maybe influenced by that, or whatever. But yeah, I just really would have liked to see this stretched out a little more. I don't think it works in this context that great. I have a question for you. How do you think of the layout of this book? Like, do you think that it suffers being after that Garth Ennis story? Do you think that this should have been up front and then we got done with the story and then flipped to the back and then that story would have been there? What would have been a better scenario?
Mm, that's a really good question. I didn't really think about that.
Hmm.
I I don't know if that matters to me. I
Okay.
think if this was in the beginning, I'd have been like, okay,
Hmm.
now on to Garth Ennis. But
Yeah. Hmm.
and then it didn't matter because I read Garth Ennis first and I was like, heck yeah, Garth Ennis is done. Let me read this other one,
Yep.
like,
Hmm.
but Garth Ennis totally shows that you can do this in this format, tell
Yes.
a pretty
Hmm.
long story because this happens to this guy, it seems like over days,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
With the
Yeah.
baby thing. I'm going back to the
Hmm.
first comic, and then gives us the entire story of what happened to his daughter in like 4 panels. So
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
it's like, okay, well, that's totally possible. He's not confusing it,
Hmm.
like, at all. Like, it's just told linear, and then it ends, and it's great. This was, like, so jam-packed with stuff that I was like, there's this old guy, and then there's this lady. Who's this lady? Where's like, his mom said, "Oh, but the trilobite's right." But what? It's like, but why does he
Hmm.
care that his mother's being eaten by I think there's just, like, a couple, like, confusing things that, like, if they just fleshed it out and made it less fast paced, I would have been a lot happier with it, especially since we know that it can be done, you know?
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. It suffers from that. I think that once you have this idea and you lay out your comic or whatever, and it's going to be part of an anthology and it's going to share a single issue with another book, like, you got to probably strip it back a little bit. And I think that that really wasn't done here.
Act like I'm dumb, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
don't make me think I'm dumb, but act
Hmm.
like I know nothing,
Yeah. Hmm.
please, because I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Tell me names, give me specific names, like, make it very apparent who these people's names are, so I know what's going on, and I know why things are happening and to who at some
Hmm.
point.
Hmm.
Especially, I don't think it helped that when that lady died, that she was all gray because she looked
Yeah.
completely different.
Yep.
Like, when he first met her, she had glasses, gray hair, an African American lady, I believe. Wait a second, now that I'm looking back at it, who's this other lady? I'm looking at the comic right now, and there's another lady that's
Oh, okay.
like,
Yeah. I mean, there's
you
just
know what I'm
people
talking
all
about?
throughout this. Yeah. Oh,
I
yes.
didn't
Yes.
even
The
realize there was
one
a
who.
second lady there.
Okay. Yeah. I think that that one works at the genealogy hall, wherever they are. Yeah. Yeah. It's just,
Oh,
again,
okay.
there's no separation
It's
of anything here. It
so
just all
yeah.
bleeds into one
Us
another.
so I think that's another we could talk about that. Don't do
Mhm.
this as comic book creators. Don't put 2 panels at the top of a page
Yeah.
that are not a part of the next panel in the same area. That
Yeah.
confused the crap out of me because
Yeah. Definitely.
when you see the box where it says "Take care, you don't follow him,"
Hmm.
that should have been the first panel of that page.
I agree.
'Cause that
Yeah.
confused me. I literally got confused, and I just figured it out right now, and I've read this twice.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's
Like,
it's it's like it needs to be stretched and jam packed. And I get that the space is very valuable here, and there's 2 stories in one, but I mean, if that's what you're giving, you got to make it work. And yeah, I like the story. Just like you said, like we agreed on. Like I like this story. This is a cool story to tell. It gives
A-
me those cool like kind of Last of Us vibes and everything, and it's cool. But yeah,
and I love the art. I
yeah. Oh
can't
yeah,
I
the
can't
art's really
even be
cool.
mad at the
Yeah,
art. It's like
no,
Mike Mignola, it's like Hellboy, it's
yeah,
like
it's
I
great.
love
Yeah.
that type of art where it's just like
Mhm.
flat, you know? It just seems kind of flat and like they use very thick um black shadowing where it's just one
Mhm.
color. There's no in between the light and the dark. There's no like blurring of that. So, and I love the art. So it's like just one of those things where if the pacing was done right, if the layout of the panels was done right, this could have been a 2 for 2 comic book scenario. But right now I'm leaning more towards like I don't know. I was so confused, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I like it enough to say that yeah, it's a very complex answer here, I guess. I like it enough to say I think that it's worth a read, and I think that people should check it out. But you should probably know going in, there's going to be a lot of pacing issues. You're going to be confused. You're probably going to need to read it twice. I'm up for that kind of thing. It seems like you are too, but some people might not be. Some people, look, I pick up a stack of like 35 comics at least every week, that I try to get through. And sometimes I don't want to go back and read something a second time because I'm like, I have, 30 other comics that I need to read today, or, between the next couple of days or whatever.
The
Um,
backlog is real
yeah, for
for any
real.
comic book lover out there. That we understand the backlog issue. All right, I got like 6 omnibuses that I've not
Oh God. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm still like trying to get through, and I'm reading like 2 of them at the same time. So
Yep.
it's one of those things.
Yeah, see, and some people are up against that. Sometimes you don't have time to sit down for a second read or a third read or whatever. And yeah, I would say check this out. Just know that going in. But if nothing else, if you're not going to get anything else out of this, pick it up and just read that first story. If you don't have time to move on to the second one, then don't. But the first one is absolutely worth the price of admission. This is a 3.99er. Yeah, so yeah, $4 for that first Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan story, hands
Yeah.
down worth it. Yeah,
Yeah, that first
I'd
one
pay
is
that
just
any
so
day.
good.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
say
it's
enough good
really
things
good.
about that first one though. It was just so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool, and it does what you want out of a Garth Ennis book. You want it to be uncomfortable. You want it to you know push those boundaries and be gross and everything else, and it does all of that. So
Yep.
very very cool Garth Ennis story there. But I guess that I don't know if we answered the question of the podcast or whatever the thesis here. Do we suggest that people go on and read issue number 2 based on this? Kind of a hard sell. It's an anthology, so just because this was good doesn't mean issue number 2 is going to be good. Just because we like the first story doesn't mean we're suggesting you read the second story. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about it. I will continue reading Creepshow. I think that it's a cool concept to get some of these all-star creators in there and see what they do with like a horror anthology thing. But there's going to be hits and there's going to be misses, I guess.
And my answer is yeah, why not?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, check it out, you know?
yeah.
Give it
It's fun either way.
give
But
it a good give it a little look see. I don't know. I don't know who's the next it all depends because it's a different author,
hmm
different artists, different ink, different everything. So it's one of
yep.
those things where it's like, it's creep show. Check it out. You know,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I enjoyed this enough to be like, yeah, I'll check out the next one because if anything, I get good art, and but
Yeah,
if
sure.
I mean 90% of the reason why I love comic books so much is because I like the art. If the art is
hmm
not good, I don't care. Honestly, I
Yep.
I'm very vehemently like, if the art's not good, I will not continue reading it. I'm sorry.
hmm
Like, especially, I hate when there's like issues. I know I'm going on a tangent. I hate when there's
Oh,
issues and
me
it's a
too.
guest artist and
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
and it ruins like I'm in the middle of a trade or an omnibus. I'm like, oh, they got a guest artist on this issue. It's like ruining the story for me, even if the story's good.
Yep.
It's like very hit or miss. But at least you get good art out of this, and 3.99. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. No, there's definitely some good art in here. They really did a good job with that. And again, like I said from the beginning, they're kind of switching it up. Becky Cloonan. she does illustrate. That's definitely something she does. People think of her like more of a writer. Phil Hester also, he's more of an artist. He did pencil this, but he also wrote the story. So I don't know, just kind of different stuff they're doing, the creative teams here. Maybe that was the sell on the book, like, hey, come in and do something different,
Yeah.
Which is cool. I'm all for it, but yeah, if you're, I think as long as you're not easily offended by different perspectives. And I mean, I hate to say it, I don't like to get political on here, but if you're not like a raging conservative, then yeah, you will love this first story. If you're like that, then probably stay away. But you're whatever. I'll leave that at the door. But
How many raging conservatives do you think are picking up a book by Garth Ennis, though? I don't know. They do
very
love the
good
Punisher
question.
logo,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe there
Yeah,
is
yeah,
something about that.
exactly. Yeah, so you never know. I mean, just on that alone, it could happen.
It
But
could,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Either way, I'll shut up
We're
about
not
that.
here to judge.
No, do your
We're not
thing.
here to
But
judge at all.
sure. But yeah, second story again. Like I can't help it. I hate comparing things, but I get such a Last of Us vibe out of it. So if you really like that kind of thing, like maybe you'll like that too. But yeah, I think this was a cool comic either way. So I'll leave it at that. A cool comic to check out, and I'm looking forward to issue number 2, and to circle all the way back around. I on these bonus episodes, we will be discussing the Call number 3 when that comes out, because wow, I can't wait now. But maybe we'll make it a thing. Maybe we'll just how did you enjoy Creepshow number 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Too. We'll see if we go down that rabbit hole or not. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Creepshow Volume 2, number 1 here. And yeah, I don't know. You got anything else to say about it, Nick?
No, thanks for having me. Great talk. I'm so happy we chose the Garth Ennis one. I'm gonna
Oh
say
yeah.
we're 4 for 4. Just
Yeah,
to
no,
keep it going.
I
I think we're
agree.
four
Look,
for four.
I recommend it. You recommend it, so
Yeah, yeah.
it was
Why not?
good. Yeah, why the hell not?
Just because that I just love Garth Ennis so much, and
Yeah.
I if I could ever talk to Garth Ennis, I just want to tell him that he's disgusting and I love it.
Hey, we will get Garth Ennis on the show. Don't you worry. I'll have you on that episode. Cool. All right. Well, we'll wrap this thing up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the all new, all different Number One Comics podcast. Of course, I won't go over the long spiel of where we are on social media, but you know where we are. And all you have to do is use the hashtag all new, all different nation to win yourself a copy of Creepshow number 1. And I got this cover. I don't know which cover you went with, but I loved this one. So
Oh,
that's
very
mine.
nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's the one that we'll be giving away in the giveaway. Postage paid, bagged and boarded, all of that. But I want to see some hashtags out there, because I don't want to give away this Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan amazingness for nothing. So I'm not even doing the giveaway this time unless I see at least 15 separate hashtags. So all new, all different nation. You guys know what to do. Thank you so much, Nick. It's been freaking awesome. Thank you for coming on, talking about this book with me, and we will see you guys next time.